A building collapses in Kupjansk as Ukrainian forces deliberately demolish a high-rise with Russian soldiers still inside. Meanwhile, in Washington, the Trump administration pushes a peace plan that would require Ukraine to surrender territory it cannot legally cede. These two stories reveal the brutal reality of how this war will end, or why it might not end at all. Today, we are fact-checking specific claims from Latvian military expert Jānis Slaidiņš about Kupjansk operations, and we are analysing the constitutional nightmare facing any Ukraine peace deal. Let's start with Kupjansk. Jānis Slaidiņš discussed Ukrainian forces expelling Russian troops from this strategic city in late 2024, but does the evidence back this up? Kupjansk matters because 5 rail lines intersect there. Controlling Kupjansk means controlling supply routes towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. In November 2024, Russian forces launched an offensive using armoured columns from the northeast. According to the Institute for the Study of War Analysis, units from Russia's 1st Guards Tank Army and 6th Combined Arms Army operated in the sector, confirming Jānis Slaidiņš's claim. But Russian forces infiltrated deep into Ukrainian positions using an unexpected approach: underground gas pipelines. Ukraine's Achilles drone regiment described this as a critically important logistical channel. The tactics Jānis Slaidiņš described are verified. The British Ministry of Defence confirmed in October 2024 that Russian forces had seized most high-rise buildings in northern Kupjansk. They occupied residential buildings in the Uvalaini district on commanding heights overlooking the city. Here is where the tactics get brutal. Ukrainian commanders faced a choice: assault fortified buildings floor by floor, or find another way. They chose demolition. Multiple Ukrainian military sources confirm that defenders planted explosives in occupied buildings, collapsing them with Russian soldiers inside. RBC Ukraine reported that soldiers of the 8th Special Operations Forces Regiment destroyed a building in central Kupjansk using anti-tank mines. One entrance collapsed, opening access to clear remaining structures. Slaidiņš credited a unit called the Skeleton Regiment for this success, but if you look for them on official rosters, they do not exist. This is actually the 425th Skala Assault Regiment. Skala means rock in Ukrainian, not skeleton. It appears to be a simple translation error. Slaidiņš also credited General Drapatyi with improving the situation, and the timeline supports this. When Russia launched its May 2024 Kharkiv offensive, the regional commander lost control. Commander-in-Chief Siersky therefore dispatched Drapatyi to stabilize the front. According to Ukrainian outlet Babel, no one slept for the first 4 days as Drapatyi established new operations. He faced a critical problem: false reporting from subordinate commanders. So he demanded accurate assessments rather than optimistic projections. Because of that accuracy, the Russians were stopped and pushed back. By November 2024, Drapatyi was promoted to commander of Ukraine's ground forces. President Zelensky visited Kupyansk on December 12, 2025, recording video just over 1 kilometer from Russian positions. His presence directly contradicted General Gerasimov's claim to Putin that Kupyansk had been liberated by Russian forces. Zelensky stated, "The Russians talked a lot about Kupyansk, and we see the result." The strategic takeaway is clear. Ukrainian forces successfully encircled approximately 200 Russian soldiers inside the city. This is not a complete liberation, but the core claim by Slaidiņš about tactical success is verified. Now, let's look at the diplomatic dimension. Slaidiņš discussed the Trump administration's proposed demilitarized zone in Donbas. Our research confirms this proposal exists, but it is more controversial than initially reported. The Trump administration's 28-point peace proposal calls for Ukrainian forces to withdraw from parts of Donetsk Oblast. This withdrawal zone would become a neutral buffer, and here is the critical detail. The proposal stipulates this territory would be internationally recognized as belonging to the Russian Federation. This is not hypothetical. Trump's envoy, Keith Kellogg, made multiple visits to Kyiv in February 2025. Trump publicly said negotiations were closer than they had ever been, and he told reporters he discussed Ukraine in pretty strong words with European leaders. The comparison to Korea is instructive. Slaidiņš mentioned 28,500 US troops stationed in South Korea. However, the Trump administration has explicitly stated the US will not deploy troops to Ukraine. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed any peacekeeping mission would be deprived of NATO Article 5 collective defense. There is also a terminology dispute. Zelensky revealed that Russia calls the proposed buffer a demilitarized zone, while the US team describes it as a free economic zone. But what is the Russian position? Putin's foreign policy advisor stated bluntly on December the 12th that this region is part of the Russian Federation's territory, and if not through negotiations, then through military action. This is where the analysis of Slaidiņš becomes crucial. He emphasized Ukraine's constitutional barriers to territorial concessions. This is not political posturing. It is a genuine structural obstacle. Ukraine's Article 73 requires any territorial changes be resolved by a referendum. Article 157 creates an eternity clause prohibiting amendments that violate territorial integrity. Most critically, Article 157 prohibits constitutional amendments during martial law. This creates an impossible situation. Ukraine cannot legally cede territory while the war continues. On December 9th, Zelensky said he asked whether Ukraine is considering giving up any territory and that Ukraine has no legal right and no moral right. Public opinion reinforces this. A June 2025 poll found 68% of Ukrainians oppose officially recognizing occupied land as Russian. Former President Trump expressed frustration with these constraints, saying he was a little bothered that Zelensky kept invoking constitutional requirements. What about European peacekeepers? Slaidiņš correctly noted European reluctance. A coalition of the willing was announced in March 2025, but commitment levels vary. France estimates it could commit nearly 10,000 troops. The United Kingdom requires a United States backstop, and Germany called such discussions premature. Experts estimate up to 50,000 troops would be needed for credible deterrence. Current pledges fall far short. Two realities collide here. On the battlefield, Ukraine demonstrates tactical innovation, encircling enemies and demolishing fortified positions. These are not the actions of a defeated military. In diplomatic corridors, proposals emerge that Ukraine literally cannot accept under its own constitution. The Trump proposal for a free economic zone would require Ukraine to surrender territory it is legally prohibited from ceding. Jānis Slaidiņš's analysis holds up remarkably well under fact-checking. The specifics about Kupjansk, the constitutional barriers, and European hesitancy are all verified. The war continues, not because solutions do not exist, but because a solution that satisfies Ukraine's constitution, Russia's demands, and American timelines may not exist at all. This reality makes a durable peace fragile and legally complicated. That's the analytical reality. Thanks for watching.